What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of LaLiga Insiders. Same drill, different information. Gemma Soler, Rodrigo Faiz, Christina Alexander. Let's break down what happened this weekend because some points shifted. Barcelona wanted to get 15 points clear, and that didn't happen against Girona. Carlo Ancelotti prepares to face his former team, Chelsea, in Champions League quarterfinals. And what's new with our insiders? Can't leave that information out, and we can't leave extra time out. Why are we seeing Sergio Ramos? We'll tell you in just a little bit. But let's start with what Barcelona missed, that opportunity. And I love how the fans are just getting really picky or impatient now with Barcelona. They want to celebrate the title. They're still a ways away, although they are still very separated from Real Madrid and that second place, Gemma. But what was missing from this Barcelona side who couldn't get a goal against Girona?
The goal. They missed the goal because it's true that they generated the chances. They played a good game, especially in the first half, but they have a lack of efficiency in the final third. We have seen this in the last games. It's true that you can say, okay, they scored 4 times against Elche, but when they face a rival with quality, and I think Girona showed that at the Camp Nou. I think they showed that they will be one of the teams that they should play for avoiding relegation. They show that they have quality enough, Michel squad, so let's give credit to them. But Barcelona were missing a lot of things in the final third, especially, and I don't know if it's I'm not sure it's that they are a little bit relaxed because of that big gap they have with Real Madrid, but they had a big chance to be 15 points clear, and the feeling at the Camp Nou was somehow that they missed the chance. And I'm not sure if that's the pressure that the fan base really, they want to clinch the title as soon as possible. What they want to do is to have fun watching Barcelona, and they didn't do that yesterday at the Camp Nou. One of the happiest moments in that 90 minutes was at minute 10 when the Camp Nou chanted for Messi, and not much more. It's true that they had a couple of good chances, especially in the first half, but then I think they go frustrated. They have these not so many ideas in the final third. They are missing so much Pedri and Frankie de Jong, and they have this. I don't know if it's a little bit of missing a physicality. It's been a long season, World Cup in the middle, but this Xavi squad is missing some sharp football times.
Yeah, missing a je ne sais quoi, but in this sense, we do know what they're missing, like you just told us, Gemma. But are you seeing the same frustration, Rodri? And if you are, why are we seeing this frustration and maybe just desperation to want to get quickly to the title already?
Well, I don't really agree with that, Chris. I understand that Barcelona is not playing as well as people deserve at the beginning of the season, and maybe they're not at the level that even Xavi expected the team to be at. But at the end of the day, you are the leader of the table. You have Real Madrid 13 points behind you. And at the end of the day is what counts. I mean, I know that Barca needs to win and to play well, which is the Barca's DNA. But, if you ask at the beginning of the season to all the Barca supporters, okay, you are almost in May or at the beginning of April, and you're going to have Real Madrid more than 10 points behind you, you're not going to play that well, could you sign this? And everyone would have signed that. So I understand that they gotta be a little bit better in the combination, in the ball possession. They gotta be better in attack because, who you are gonna miss a lot for me, at least at this moment of the season, is Lewandowski. I mean, I know that Pedri is key for Barca and indeed Frankie de Jong, but what they missed in that game against Girona is again Lewandowski, because he's the kind of player that he has to teach the rest of the players how to score, and he's not scoring. I'm kind of disappointed by the way Lewandowski is playing in this second half of the season, and I think that Barca need a better Lewandowski to score, because when Pedri comes back and when Frankie de Jong comes back, Barca is going to play much better. So, if I were a Barcelona supporter, I would be more calm down, rather than the criticism there is been around Barcelona in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lewandowski trying to even sneak a back heel and couldn't even find the goal in that way. And it's been, weird to see him just miss all those opportunities. And I'm sure it feels weird for the Barca fan who was used to a different version, of course, of Robert Lewandowski, especially when he first signed on with the club. Let's listen to Xavi Hernandez, the head coach, to see if he's worried about his team.
Bueno, el estado de ánimo creo que es positivo, ¿no? Ellos, imagino que también la afición valora la situación donde estamos, de dónde veníamos, el esfuerzo que ha hecho el club y el equipo de estar en esta situación de privilegio, pero falta conseguir este título, que para nosotros era muy importante. En cuanto a Leo, veo que genera ilusión, ¿no? El hecho de corear, ya llevan 2 partidos la afición coreando su nombre, pues que les genera mucha ilusión el hecho de que pueda volver al club, ¿no? Pero vamos a ver si se da. Nosotros nos tenemos que enfocar ahora mismo en esta temporada. Esta temporada pasa por estos 10 partidos que hay que ganar la Liga.
I mean, they're still in a great moment, right, with that separation. But in true Pep Guardiola philosophy fashion, Gemma, even if they're winning, he's still going to find the problems. And in this sense, he said they were even embarrassed with this result. Do you agree with his approach?
Yes, I think so, because as he was mentioning, they missed a chance, not only to go 15 points clear, but also to give some joy to the fan base that they had to suffer midweek, that thrashing defeat against a bitter rival Real Madrid for nil defeat in Copa del Rey. So it was a chance to turn the page and make that knockout. I don't know if we forget it, but at least to take the good step again. So yeah, about Lewandowski, you were talking about him. We found out just earlier today that he explained that he couldn't work Sunday morning because he had some a minor injury in the last El Clásico, and thanks to the physiotherapist and some kind of technical belt, he was able to play. But of course, he was not at the 100% capacity, and we could somehow see that, and he's promising that in the next games he's definitely gonna be in better condition. And what I think we have to give credit is to that fact that Barcelona were not even almost able to compete in the last 2 seasons, and now they are 13 points clear. And it has been a La Liga where they have been extremely reliable on defense, which is an aspect that Barcelona is not their top, we could say it like this, only 9 goals against. This is a crazy number. They are not so far, with 10 games to go to finish the season. They are not so far to that all-time record of Mourinho's Chelsea 2004-2005 with only 15 goals against. We'll see if Marc-André Ter Stegen keeps being that much inspired and they can break this record in an aspect, the defensive side, that it has never been the strongest point of Barcelona.
Yeah, and it's been such a turnaround, and it's true. And now fans are used to this team winning in La Liga, something that they weren't used to, Rodri, in the recent seasons, of course, with Real Madrid taking the crown in the last time that we saw this full season. But now, what can Xavi expect in these next few games where they'll look to mathematically become champions?
This is going to be a little bit tricky for Xavi, because I know how the players think when you are, that far from Real Madrid, and I know that they have achieved a great season, and they know that they're going to win the title. So I'm not going to say that they're going to leave the team like, I'm going to go and keep going, and I'm going to be maybe at my 80% of my capacity, but it's going to be tricky for Xavi, because he has to tell the players to be focused and to try to win, to get the title as soon as possible. football if they don't want to struggle by the end of May. So it's gonna be kind of struggling even for Xavi, because I know how the players are, and he knows it perfectly, much better than me. Now he has to try to bring Pedri back in the squad, and he has to try to bring Frankie de Jong back in shape, because for Barca they are two key players, even above from the rest, because they are really important in terms of ball possession, in terms of creating more spaces in attack, like Pedri, for example, who is the magician of this Barca. And apart from that, they gotta be a little bit calmed down, because when they are so frustrated like they were last night against Girona, it could be something negative for the squad and for some young players that they want to prove that they are more than able for Barca level for the next season. Let's see what happens in these 2 months that we have ahead, but it's going to be a little bit tricky for Xavi, and it's going to be a test for the trainer to say, okay, I'm going to be like more than a coach, I'm going to be a father for them, to say, okay, we're going to focus on this and we're going to get the title as soon as possible, because if not, we're going to struggle a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. We know that the head coaches kind of go in between that father, psychologist, and of course coach mode, and it's needed, especially when he's dealing with so many young players. The magician Xavi Hernandez, the conductor who just needs to keep the train straight to the light at the end of the tunnel, which is the La Liga title. Let's switch over to Real Madrid, who is kind of in a different situation in La Liga, to say the least, Rodri, and they struggled again this week, and they had such a brilliant week. Of course, we mentioned how they came back with that 4-0 and against Barcelona, so they were still high scoring for this game. But what happened? What were they missing in this match against Villarreal?
Well, Real Madrid are the kind of student, the most difficult exam, they pass it and they get an A plus. And suddenly, when they have the exam for the easiest subject, they fail. And this is because the self-confidence sometimes in this team is so high that they forget that this is football and this is La Liga. And all the rivals are really tough, like Villarreal. And when you get Villarreal in front of you and you get them a little chance, they're going to kill you. Because this is football and this is La Liga. And in the first half of the game, I remember seeing the Real Madrid side playing quite well, and I was like, okay, they're gonna win with no problems against Villarreal. But then in the second half, I only say maybe Vinicius, he was the only player that was at the level that Real Madrid expects from the squad, because the defense was again a disaster. I'm not gonna talk about again the right or the left back, or again I'm not gonna blame on the center backs, but the whole team was a disaster. Apart from Vinicius, for me, he was the only player that was at the level that we expect the Brazilian to be at. But the rest, it was bad. And I'm not gonna be harder, because I understand that from the Real Madrid players' perspective, they're gonna be more focused on what happens tomorrow against Chelsea or in the Copa del Rey final against Osasuna, and I know that they give this La Liga title for lost. They know that Barcelona are gonna win La Liga, but when you are in that shirt and when you are defending Real Madrid shield, you're gonna be much better. And what happened against Villarreal is the proof what happened in the rest of the season. Real Madrid need to improve a little bit. Real Madrid players have to be more focused on La Liga, and Real Madrid players always has to be at a level that all the supporters from Real Madrid want them to be at.
Yeah, and they haven't been at that level in La Liga. Rodri just needs to cross his arms and say, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed, because that's what it's been for Real Madrid, which hurts more, by the way. We'd rather have someone scream in your face than just be disappointed for a long period of time. Gemma, with this Real Madrid side, with the lack of results, inconsistency of results in La Liga and what we've seen from them lately, what can we expect to see from Carlo Ancelotti and company in the UEFA Champions League when we see a completely different version of them?
If there is a team that they don't need to have this consistency, regularity in the domestic competition, and they can succeed in Europe, if there is one team, that team is Real Madrid. So I think that when that anthem of the champions sounds, especially in the Santiago Bernabeu, they forget about everything. And I'm sure Carlo Ancelotti won't be needing much effort to turn his players into the Champions League mode, and the motivation and the spirit is going to be definitely high before facing Chelsea midweek in the Champions League. They are in the final of the Copa del Rey, and now they want to do yet again another, to be the surprise team, because no one probably was expecting at the beginning of last season that they would win the Champions League, and they managed to do it, and that's what they want to do again. I think they have the experience of what happened last season against Chelsea in the second leg at the Santiago Bernabeu, where they somehow relaxed themselves and they need to suffer and yet to put attention at the end of the game. And knowing that the second leg is going to be in Stamford Bridge, I think that they cannot afford any kind of relax. The team, I think the spirit is okay. It's true that we haven't been seeing the best version in La Liga of Real Madrid, but this is going to change. There's only one injury, Mendy, and I think Ancelotti has everything. And himself earlier today, he was somehow giving credit to himself, because in the press conference some people were not attacking but saying that maybe he's very good in dealing with the players but not as good manager, and he had to give credit to himself, which I think it's quite price of the only coach that has been able to win all the major leagues in Europe, but I think Real Madrid are big favorites, especially because the crisis that is surrounding Chelsea. But there are big names, shiny names in that Blues squad, so they cannot relax at all.
Yeah, especially if they want to wear that underdogs jersey, or of course looking ahead to what this Champions League matchup is going to look like. Here's what Carlo Ancelotti has to say about Frank Lampard.
I'm sad, yes. I have a fantastic memory of this club, of the people that are still working there, and I am a supporter of Chelsea, of course, because I spent 2 years really nice there. Be back? No, I think that Lampard, I hope that Lampard is able to do a fantastic job with them.
Nothing but good feels and good vibes when Ancelotti talks about Chelsea, but it'll definitely be different in this Champions League quarterfinal matchup. Rodri, but what do you think about how Ancelotti was talking about his former club?
Ancelotti is a good fella. I mean, he talked with his heart more than with his head, because he knows perfectly that Lampard coaching Chelsea is something that maybe doesn't really fit really well, in terms that what Lampard achieved as a manager in his career is not at the level that Chelsea need at this moment. We know that he's the kind of coach that is going to be till the end of the season. He already knows this, because when Chelsea announced his name, as the caretaker in this last part of the season, he's going to leave by June, because Chelsea are monitoring the situation by Luis Enrique, Nagelsmann, some other outsiders, and I know the Ancelotti has been really kind with those words to Lampard. I think, and I'm not gonna say that the Real Madrid are gonna get Chelsea out of the Champions League, because we gotta respect Chelsea. They got a great squad, they got great players, they got that second leg of the knockout is gonna be played in London, which is gonna be massive for Chelsea, and for me is the main advantage of this English side in this knockout against Real Madrid. But at the end of the day, we know how Lampard is as a coach, and we know that this squad is not at the level that we expected at the beginning of the season, and it's not the same one that we expected to be at that level now when they are at the Premier League once the winter transfer window was over. I mean, they signed so many players, they spent so many money, they invested in so many youngsters that, you know, I have real doubts on Lampard and on Chelsea, because if they get Real Madrid out of the Champions League, this is something that could happen because this is football. Facing either Bayern Munich or Manchester City, I think is going to be two for Chelsea. Let's see what happens at the end of this Champions League tournament. But for me, believe me, I don't really trust in Frank Lampard anymore.
Yeah, he was able to make his named baby Chelsea work there for a while, but at the end of the day, we know there had to be a coach change, and well, what a change it was. Gemma, who has more writing on this game when we talk about Frank Lampard and Carlo Ancelotti?
Of course, Carlo Ancelotti is a manager with way more history of success, experience, and much more. And the previous times with Lampard as a coach, they haven't been that much successful, and it's that kind of interim solution. Meanwhile, Chelsea are working in something more consistent for next season. But let's not forget that Chelsea already, with a change of manager, they were able to win a Champions League a couple of years ago in Porto against Man City. They have big names. They had spent a lot of money, especially in the winter market, with Enzo Fernandez, Joao Felix, Chilwell, Havertz, Cucurella, Kepa. They have quality. This squad has quality. And of course, Frank Lampard, I think he will be acting that role of interim manager and appealing more the best version of his players, more than trying to change the system of a team that will try to play to attack the vulnerabilities of Ancelotti's squad. The fact that they have the second leg at front of a home crowd, and this especially in the Champions League against Real Madrid is a plus, is something that can help them. I think Ancelotti is the big favorite in that duel of managers that respect themselves so much. But you never know. It's a Champions League. It's the end. Only 8 teams left, so anything can happen.
Absolutely. That's a big reason, or one of the many reasons why we love the Champions League. So we'll see if Carlo Ancelotti and company can stay alive, can stay afloat with their season practically riding, of course, on the Champions League, and still thinking ahead to what that final in the Copa del Rey will be. Here are the chances, at least for Real Madrid, to take away the victory in this first leg, according to the ESPN Football Index. That draw, 25%, and a mere 22% for Chelsea to beat them at the Santiago Bernabeu. But everything can happen and change, of course, in that second leg at Stamford Bridge. That takes us to our insider information. Rodri's shaking his head. Rodri, I'm going to start with you. If you want to comment on why you were shaking your head, and two, if you can tell us a little bit about the futures of Toni Kroos and Marco.
Haters come to me. No, let's focus on insiders, because I got some, I'm not gonna say breaking news, but we got great news for maybe if they end like this. This morning I was around Santiago Bernabeu, and from my sources I got a couple of cases that are still to renew his contract with Real Madrid, and I am talking about Marco Asensio and Toni Kroos. First of all, let's just start with the Spaniard, because Marco Asensio now he has a better offer than the previous one on the table. This is the second offer from Real Madrid to renew Marco Asensio's contract, and he's thinking about that. It's an offer that is a little bit better in the money aspect. For Marco Asensio, it would be around maybe in between 3 and 5 years for Marco Asensio, which is something that he wanted to. And the thing is that the feeling from the player and from my sources at Real Madrid, at the club, are really positive in this way. So they expect to renew his contract unless something run happens or some big or massive team arrives at the end of this season trying to steal Marco Asensio from Real Madrid, because now, up to this date, he doesn't really have a better offer than Real Madrid's. So let's see what happens, but it looks like, both sides are really optimistic to try to renew the Mallorquin contract with Real Madrid. And then we gotta be focused again on Toni Kroos. We, if you all remember, that maybe 1 month ago, before Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid derby, we got an interview with Toni Kroos, and he said to ESPN exclusively that he wanted to think about that because this is a very personal decision, and he has an offer on the table for 1 more year. We remember that Real Madrid only offer 1 more year to all the players that are more than 30 years old, like this is the example of Toni Kroos. He's thinking about this first because he wants to be in person the guy who announces that he's going to either renew his contract with Real Madrid or the retirement from football, because he doesn't consider another adventure in some other football markets. The thing is that, once I was passing by Santiago Bernabeu this morning, I was told that, the club is like more happy with Toni Kroos because they understand that they are really close to get the thumbs up from the Germans. So let's see what happens if he doesn't, turns his mind. But it looks like Toni Kroos is a little bit closer to renew his contract with Real Madrid for 1 more season.
Asensio and Kroos, anything can happen as well in the next few months, as you just told us, Rodri. Thanks for that, Gemma. To you, because there's tough news still surrounding those players who haven't been able to come back from injury for Barcelona. What's the latest on them?
Well, it's been one of the worst news lately surrounding Barcelona, and the bad news is that we still don't have a day that these players that Xavi has been missing them so much will be again able to play with the team. We are talking especially about the midfield, Frenkie de Jong and Pedri. We are not expecting them in the next game against Getafe. Pedri, it's been already 10 games without being able to play, and what we can explain is that the Xavi Hernandez squad, they are working in that Frenkie de Jong and Pedri could come back in 2 match days. This means against Atletico Madrid at the Camp Nou on Sunday, 23rd of April. That will be the day they are trying to work on. In Pedri, let's remember that we thought he could be able to play that second leg of the semifinals against Real Madrid, but he didn't have good feelings, and that's why at this point of the season, now that they are almost about to in the verge of clinch in La Liga title, of course they don't want to run any kind of risk, and that the player can have a more severe injury. In Andreas Christensen, we are talking about the end of the month. Let's remember that he got injured in the FIFA window with playing with Denmark. And about Ousmane Dembele, this is probably the most concerning case. He has already missed 14 games. He got injured playing against Girona in the first leg of La Liga, and we still don't have the day that he'll be able to come back, because we have been able to know that his injury in the left thigh is still concerning the medical staff, and he's still not being able to work normally. He doesn't have good feelings, and in this kind of injuries, and taking into account the injury record that this player has suffered, they don't want to rush it. So we don't have, we cannot talk about a day that he will be able to play again, which is bad news for Xavi Hernandez, because they have been missing him so much, especially in the one-on-one, in trying to be unpredictable in the final third, especially because he was enjoying a momentum, the best time of his career, just before getting that injury.
Yeah, it's such bad luck. The timing, as you just mentioned, is so bad. And I think one of the most complicated things about any sort of injury or a medical situation is the patience that one needs to have to be able to make that full recovery before he can come back, as to not risk, of course, that injury that's been so complicated for Dembele, especially recently, as you tell us, Gemma. Really, I'll go with you. Speaking of a good moment, Santiago Jimenez is having it. Unlike Ousmane Dembele, who's having it a few months ago, that was my reference. But with Jimenez now, he scored his 10th goal in the Eredivisie with Feyenoord. Who's taking a look now at the young Mexican striker?
A lot of big teams in Europe. The thing is that through my sources in mid-Europe, we get some good details on Feyenoord's striker, because now Santi Jimenez is being one of the most followed strikers in the moment, because not only for what you mentioned before, Chris, but also because of the present and the future that all the big clubs in Europe, they expect him to be. So that is why a lot of clubs from Premier League and from La Liga and even from Italy are trying to monitor his situation. The thing is that I talked to Feyenoord, the Dutch club that he belongs to, and I was told that maybe Feyenoord would be able to listen to some offers in between 20 and 25 million of euros. That would be the price for Santi Jimenez. And I was talking also to Santi Jimenez camp in order to know what are the plans for the player. And I was told that the intention that they have, I mean, without discarding another year at the Eredivisie with Feyenoord, I mean, they don't discard that, but they know it's going to be a little bit hard because of the amount of offers, of interests that they have now at the moment, and it's going to be increased by far in this last part of the season. I mean, they want to jump into the Champions League, into a Champions League team, but maybe not that big, like for example Man United. He has been linked to Man United or to some other big clubs. They want like lower level in order to play a little bit more, to have more chances to show his regularity on the Champions League and try to score a little bit more goals in order to get a bridge club to later, maybe in 2 years, a higher level club. So let's see what happens, but I really like that price of 25 million of euros for Santi Jimenez. It's some other club, like for example Sevilla, Benfica, maybe the Italian sides want the striker in their team.
Yeah, it would be really interesting because we're seeing such a great moment from Santiago Jimenez. Evidently, that means his value is going up. He has 10 goals in 26 games in the Eredivisie. He has 18 goals total in all competitions this year for Feyenoord. By the way, he hasn't been a starter for every single one of those games. He has been recently because he's won that position. So let's see how he will be rewarded this coming summer or in the next market. Of course, there's no rush with young talent. Speaking of no rush with young talent, as we're seeing, of course, in such an important moment with Gavi, and what's his wish lately, Gemma?
In Barcelona is what his people tell us when we ask about that rumors that we just found out. Our colleagues at Diario AS explained that in the last FIFA window, in the international games that he was in Madrid, there was a meeting with Chelsea, and the Blues expressed themselves that with a big interest in signing the player, which is especially can worry someone at Barcelona now, because let's remember that he's still playing with a B team contract because of the legal problems in registering him with La Liga. And that was some kind of concerning. But what Gavi's agents people explain is that he wants to succeed in Barcelona, and that they cannot deny this information on any other, because they would spend the day denying false information, rumors, and so on and so on. He always make it pretty clear he feels comfortable in Barcelona. He likes playing with Xavi as a manager, and that's his biggest wish. And just as a little funny story about yesterday's game at the Camp Nou against Girona, it was a pretty tough game to watch, quite boring. So one of the funniest things is to watch Gavi. He has so much energy. He puts so much effort, and since the very beginning of the warm-up and until the end of the final whistle, he put so much energy. He was so frustrated because they were unable to score a goal that he had a chance. He couldn't take that chance, and he hit with his foot the goal post with so much energy that for a couple of minutes he was walking kind of, he got a little bit of pain there, just to show that he puts so much effort in everything he does when he's playing a game.
Hey, careful, all those Timberwolves fans that are watching us right now in the NBA. Jaden McDaniels punched a wall and he fractured his right hand. So Gavi taking out his frustrations. Maybe he wants to find something softer to punch. That's a possibility. I'm not saying he can't hit anything, but he can hit a soft inanimate object at the end of the day. But that's such a funny story. And I think it's just a reflection of the spark that we're seeing in Gavi, and that's something that he's recognizing, of course, at his young age. Rodrigo, I'll take it with you because speaking of recognition, of course, some clubs looking at Iván Fresneda. You were telling us about him a few weeks ago. What's the latest with him?
Well, the situation now with Iván Fresneda is the same one that we had in the winter transfer window. I mean, the main favorites are Borussia Dortmund because they understand that they've made a great job with Iván Fresneda and his encouragement, and Arsenal are a little bit behind. But the thing is that the breaking news that we got is that Manchester United are monitoring the situation of Iván Fresneda, or maybe the evolution, which is the best word in this case, for Iván Fresneda in the future. I'm not going to say that Manchester United are going to try to sign Iván Fresneda for now, because I think that he's going to sign for Borussia Dortmund or even for Arsenal. But, you know, we remember that Borussia Dortmund are the main favorites to get Iván Fresneda by the end of June. But the thing is that Manchester United are really interested on the situation and evolution of Iván Fresneda, because they understand that he's going to be a key player for the future. And as I was told by some English sources that we manage, they think that Iván Fresneda could be the kind of right back, because he's playing as a right back, that could make a hit in the next decade. So that is why they're going to be really focused on the next step that Iván Fresneda takes, which is possible to be in the Bundesliga or in some other teams, to try to get him for the future. They are gonna be really focused on him because they know that he has a great camp. They know that the family, you know, that the player has is really focused on his career and on his progression, and that is why they like Iván Fresneda a lot. And let's see, because they've been monitoring his situation even in the stadium a couple of times this season for the future. So let's see. It would be great to see Iván Fresneda, the Manchester United team. It would be massive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure you'll be the first one to tell us all about it. So far, so good for Fresneda. So far, not so great for Barcelona in this Negreira case. Gemma, what's the latest?
Oh, well, we have an important announcement that eventually Barcelona are going to give a big, probably long press conference, and it's going to be next Monday, April the 17th, and it will be the president himself. Probably some other expert will be in that press conference. I say long because usually Laporta, he answers absolutely all the questions, and his press conference are somehow like a marathon. They decided to put it at 11 Spanish time, which I think it's quite good, because sometimes if it's later, then not journalists or Laporta himself or the board of members can have lunch. So hopefully there will be some clear explanations about this scandal. Barcelona, since the very beginning, they always gave the same message, that they haven't ever bought or anything related with buying referees, is what they have, the message they have been saying since the very beginning of this scandal breaking in the news. And that's the same explanation we somehow think we will be listening next Monday. It will be at the Camp Nou, at the auditorium, and they have been investigating with two aspects, we can say, of investigation. One inside with the compliance department, and the other they have contracted an external lawyer firm, and now they have the conclusions of both investigations, and they will try to put a little bit of light into a case that it does really smell quite bad. They want to defend themselves, not only for the rivals and for the sportsmanship of this club, but also for the members that at the end of the day are the owners of this club. So eventually, Chris, we will be having some official explanations to that Negreira scandal.
Yeah, the reality is there's nowhere to hide. It's time to see what's going on. But like you said, Gemma, it doesn't look good, and it doesn't smell great either for the Barcelona side. But of course, we'll have the latest information right here for everybody on LaLiga Insiders. And that takes us to some extra time because Sergio Ramos, in the last months or in the last years that we're looking of his career, not of course that many, he said this: I want to play at La Bombonera, which is where Boca Juniors plays, for the affection that I have for Boca Juniors. It's such an iconic stadium, La Bombonera at the end of the day, but maybe to imagine him there would be really interesting. I don't know how he can make that happen, but if we're thinking about where else you guys might want to see Sergio Ramos play in iconic stadiums or in different teams, what or where comes to mind, Gemma?
I would say the Azteca Stadium, Maracanã, and I will add another stadium, which is probably not that much iconic when we talk about football, and this is the Montjuic Stadium, where Barcelona will be playing next season. Why not? If Sergio Ramos come back to La Liga, which I think it would be quite fun, he will be playing against Barcelona, not in Barcelona, even though at his career he has been linked a couple of times with the Blaugranas, but I don't think he will be joining Barcelona right now.
With the Madrid shirt or a Sevilla shirt?
I don't think Madrid, because Real Madrid are not, they don't like that much the second time, the second movies, stories and this kind.
Yeah.
Maybe Sevilla, I don't know. Maybe Rodri knows more.
What do you think, Rodri?
It could be a dream for Sergio Ramos to play La Bombonera, but in La Bombonera de Nervión, which is the nickname of Sevilla's stadium, which is the perfect end for Sergio Ramos. It would be definitely
so romantic.
I wouldn't discard it for the future. Let's see what happens. But if not, if he doesn't play for Sevilla again, I see him playing maybe in Old Trafford. He was close to join Man United maybe 7 years ago. Or, well, maybe even Etihad Stadium with Man City. He was linked to Man City last year. He was about to sign for Guardiola team last year before joining PSG. I don't know, seeing Ramos in Manchester, it could be really great for
Yeah. Yeah, I like all these possibilities. I love what Gemma said, because as soon as the producer asked us to think about iconic stadiums, the Azteca came to mind, of course, historically, as speaking what we've seen some of the greatest players, Pelé, Maradona, just to name a couple out there. But of course, me being from the north of Mexico, me being a Rayados fan, a Monterrey fan, I would love to see him. Why not? Play in the BBVA out there. It's a very pretty stadium. Iconic, historic.
That'd be great.
Not yet, but it's a very beautiful stadium. And the fans would love to receive, of course, Sergio Ramos.
It's one of the most beautiful stadiums in Mexico.
It is very, very pretty. And not to make comparisons, but it does remind me of the Allianz Arena and kind of the same design around it. But anyway, we can talk about this all day, or at least I can. I know you guys can too. Gemma, Rodri, I always love to remind our viewers to follow you guys on your respective social medias for the latest and greatest information. And of course, you can catch all of La Liga matches on ESPN+. Gemma, Rodri, see you in a few days. Thanks as always.
Adios.
Yeah.